All right, so this is going to be quick. Plan is go in the noon showing of Moana, and then hopefully timing works out that I can get myself across to the 10 showing of the Odyssey, and then I'll come back and do this later. But I probably won't have enough time to do the snack thing because again the crossover is going to be ridiculous. All right, so here we go. Let's go see Moana and the Odyssey. The Moana Odyssey, maybe. All right, so that was Moana and the Odyssey. Back-to-back double feature. Really don't see very much parallels between those two movies, but I guess there are stories that have been told before, and this is a new way of telling them, I guess, in a roundabout way. So, to begin with, Moana is one of those movies that didn't need to be remade. However, that being said, what they showed was quite spectacular to watch. Now, of course, we've gone through this whole entire remaking live-action versions of animated features. But for a realism, this version is quite entertaining. It's quite spectacular to watch. Nice thing is they do a couple of tweaks and twists and all that sort of thing. They pad out the beginning of the story before Moana goes off on her voyage. It's pretty close to, but not quite beat for beat of the original animated, which is nice to see. We have a little more depth to our characters. We're dealing with a third dimension, then I guess technically the 3D animated would be a third dimension as well, but neither that or whatever means anything. But it is nice to see a photorealistic version of animated characters like the Kakamora look really cool in this. Hey still seems a little too cartoonish to be part of this, but all the other creatures and Fiti and all that sort of thing are just so gorgeously rendered, and the Maui costume looks really well done. So I obviously have tweaked it quite a bit, because seeing behind the scenes stuff of them making this movie, Dwayne Johnson in that muscle suit just looked all right sort of thing, but it looks really cool. It is kind of hard to get over the fact that Dwayne Johnson has all this long, luxurious hair and all that, but once you get past that, it's quite fun to watch. And again, it didn't need to be done, and it's way too soon since the original, but I had mentioned on my podcast about the box office movies earlier this week, where I hadn't thought that it was enough time for the kids that grew up with Moana to see this. Well, there were quite a few parents that had kids that obviously were not born yet when Moana originally came out. I had thought about asking a couple of the parents if this was their first experience with Moana with their kids or not, but unfortunately timing meant that I had to closing credits dash towards not missing the opening of the Odyssey. But it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was well done. I did find myself singing along to it. There is still the emotional pull from the characters that you got from the original version, which was cool. The storyline plays out, pulling at the heartstrings and all that sort of thing in all the right places, which is, exactly what you want from a movie. Again, did it need to be done? Not really. Did they do a good job? I believe they did. So take that as you will. Now, like I said, overlap of movies, I had to get myself from one side of the movie theater to the other theater to see the Odyssey. And I got into my seat just as probably one of the coolest reactions to a trailer that I've ever sat through. The trailer that they showed for a movie upcoming in October, beginning in October, I think nobody in the theater knew what they were going to be expecting. And that's Other Mummy, M-O-M-M, like mother and all that sort of thing. But not Other Mother like Coraline, but Other Mummy with Jessica Chastain. And everyone was thoroughly creeped out by that trailer. Do yourself a favor and go see it. Having a visceral reaction in a almost completely filled theater to see the Odyssey was a fantastic way to see this trailer. Now on to the Odyssey. Now I'm doing a daily series where I watch a different movie each day of the year where the movie has a relation to the day I'm watching it. Today I happened to do the 1951, like almost 3-hour epic movie, Quo Vadis, like I said, from 1952, which is a big epic, big MGM, like huge sets and a lot of extras and big time actors doing big time acting and all that sort of thing. Really cool special effects for 1951. And again, 2 hours and almost 3, like 2:51, I believe it was. It was a fascinating thing to watch the Odyssey, to see 75 years later the equal version of that movie. The Odyssey is this huge, big, epic story. Just the Odyssey itself is a huge basic story, and the reason why it has not been done justice until now. Yes, that's right. This movie is fantastic. I knew going into it visually it was going to be stunning. We have some fantastic acting. We got some horrendously talented cast being put into this situation, which would definitely, no matter what, wouldn't be disappointing. But it was such a wondrous thing to witness. This is, again, shot state of the art and all that. I, unfortunately, was not able to acquire tickets to see the IMAX version of this. There's only one theater near me that has been sold out for a little while, something else I also found out on that other podcast. But so I went to the biggest digital screen available to me. Again, huge screen, really good sound and all that. So it was sort of comparable, but unfortunately did not get to see the 70mm IMAX projection of this movie. But that being said, it definitely did not disappoint its visuals. And Christopher Nolan, just again showing how much of a genius he is at making a theatrical experience. These are the reasons you go to the theater to see movies. This is something that definitely needs to be seen on the large screen with fantastic sound and just the envelopment of the environment. It is such a fantastical, I use the word fun, but it makes it seem too jovial of a word. It is an experience that needs to be experienced in the theater with the full capabilities that can get from a movie theater. It was so good. And again, acting top notch, visuals beyond realistic and all that when we're dealing with digital characters, but there's so much that is practical from this movie, and you can tell that it's all practical as much as possible because it's Christopher Nolan. He will build an entire city and then burn it down just to make it seem like it's real because it is real. But again, it's so wonderful of a movie. The storytelling is, I don't know much about the original story itself and how that story is told out, but we get jumping back and forth on timelines, different points of view for telling myths and stories and whatnot, and it's just such a good movie. Yeah, so like I said, Moana, good movie. The Odyssey, fantastic movie. So I got some really great two back-to-back. I wish I had been able to sneak into my schedule to get to see Evil Dead Burn, but sadly my schedule wasn't open enough to be able to see 3 movies in a row. So unfortunately going to have to wait, but these two were really fun to watch. And so, like I keep saying, do yourself a favor. If you want to see movies like this come out in movie theaters, go to the movie theaters and pay to see tickets to see these movies, because the only way we're going to get movies like that is when those that make the movies know that they're going to make money from putting movies into the theaters instead of directly to streaming. And that's basically what it is. You don't have to see these movies, but just do yourself a favor and go out and see a movie. All right, so that's it. Again, Moana great, friggin' fantastic, The Odyssey, and next time I'll see you at the box office.